Zoo. Their children were picked up by 2 school buses, 2 on each school bus. One day when I was caring for them in the morning, getting them ready for school, I mean, it's tube feeding, dressing, changing diapers. And you got to do this by the time the school buses arrive. And sometimes the kids don't want to cooperate. There's times when our own children didn't want to go to school, right? Times that times 4, not usually times 4, but I wore a heart rate monitor one time because I thought, I'm probably burning a lot of calories. Hour and a half, I burned 350 calories getting those kids ready to put on the bus. These parents do this every day, you know, and I'm for a few hours, and it was difficult. So they really were influential in helping me grasp what it's like to be on the other side.
How well did these children communicate? Were they verbal?
Well, none of them were verbal, but the one that I talked about, I named Corey in my book, he had some autistic tendencies, and he would repeat some of the words sometimes, and so he loved to climb up and flick the light switches off and on, off and on, off and on. He would just kind of pull himself up. His legs were kind of crooked, but it would just make the rest of us crazy. You know, Corey, stop. And he would always say, why? And I said, because Diane says. So, and then he would kind of giggle his mischievous giggle. And as soon as I wasn't looking, he'd go back to it and do it again. And we'd go through the whole routine. Why? And he started repeating me, Diane says. One thing that really touched my heart one evening was I'd done some laundry for the children after they were put in bed, thought they were all asleep. I went in the room to put some clothes away in the dark, and as I was walking out, I heard Corey say, Diane says. He was probably 16 or 17, so he had that deep male voice, and I just, it touched my heart. I went over and I gave him a hug, and then he kind of slugged me, you know, giggling his mischievous laugh. But he, you know, my name was Diane Says. Mom told me when I knocked on the door, sometimes he would say, Diane Says.
That's adorable. Diane, besides the obvious, what are some ways you feel that you've impacted these children and their families?
I could see them feel at ease around me and my family, and just the smiles of some of them who couldn't speak. It's amazing how much, you know, laughter can give you such a good feeling. But with somebody like that who's not able to laugh as easily or understand what to laugh about, it really opens up a world of a wonderful feeling to know that you've touched them and helped them to have laughter in their lives. I did an interview with somebody in the end of the book who was perfectly healthy at birth, and when she was 2 years old, she got into a power box outside and almost died. They told her parents if she was to live, she would be a vegetable. So this is Barbie that I'm speaking of. She had 2 older siblings. Her parents raised her to be independent and taught her to stick up for herself and taught her to take care of herself. So by the time she was ready to go to college, she lived in Texas at the time. She moved to Arizona, and I think I forgot to mention she didn't have any arms because of the accident. So she was able to dress herself, feed herself, do everything pretty much with her toes. I met her through my daughters who knew her from going to a local gym, and I asked her if I could interview her, and she was very open to that because she wants to raise awareness as well. She loves arts and crafts. She skates. She plays the piano. She's gone skydiving. So in one word, Barbie is unafraid. She's done more than a typical person. She raised 2 boys by herself. She told me how she learned to give them a bath, how she breastfed. You know, she did all this on her own. She was a bodybuilder for 16 years. I bet that was pretty intimidating to the rest of the contestants, don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. But it makes me realize that when I'm complaining about my life in times when I'm having challenges, I really have no right to complain. When you think about people like Barbie who have so many limitations physically, and yet they don't make them mental limitations. They do whatever they set their mind to do, and that's really inspiring.
Well, if I want to do this, I should just go do it. I shouldn't think that I'm not capable. I should just go do it. If when I have a sore wrist or arm or something, and I'm like, oh, poor me, I think of Barbie. Like, don't go there. You have no right feeling sorry for yourself. This can happen to any of us any day. We can have an accident and become disabled in some way. Any second of any day that can happen to us. And the one thing that really bothers her is when people stare at her and don't ask her questions. She's even said to mothers who have tried to get their children, leave her, quit looking at her, walk away. Yeah. And she'll say, no, let him ask me. It's okay. It's okay, communicate.
Now, speaking of communicating, you wrote in your book about an experience when your children were young, and you ran into someone who you hoped would be more like Barbie and open with communication about their disabilities, but instead ran into someone who wasn't necessarily that way, and it ended up being a sort of a humorous, legendary family story. You want to share that with the audience a little bit?
I had 4 children. I think the oldest one was 8, and the youngest one was, a few months old, sitting up. And I thought I was on top of everything. I had taught them about pregnant women. Not everybody's pregnant that looks big in the stomach. So don't go up and say, when is your baby coming? I taught them about people that were missing limbs, that were in wheelchairs, people that were on crutches, people that couldn't speak, people of different color, people who spoke different languages. So I thought I was up. I'm doing good, and then I took them to the grocery store one day, and I saw a little person. Having an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old and on down, I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't taught them about this type of person, so we need to stay far away from this lady. And so every aisle that I went down, I would make sure that she wasn't there. And my older children, Freddie and Rochelle, were saying, Mom, we already went down this aisle. Oh, it's okay, Mom. I think I forgot something. And they're helping me get things off the shelf. And so finally we're done, and our cart's pretty full. And I get in line, and there's about, 4 or 5 people ahead of me. It's kind of busy this afternoon that I went. And who gets behind me? The little person. It didn't take long. It was less than a minute, I think, and Freddie went up to her, and with his hand motioning downwards toward her head, he said, Mom, look, I'm bigger than her. Irritated look on her face. I thought, why did she get in line behind me? Why? Couldn't she tell there would be a problem? There's 4 small children, trying to redirect them, like, it doesn't matter, everybody is intelligent, it doesn't matter how small or how tall they are, it doesn't matter. But he just kept on motioning with his hand down towards this woman, and she wouldn't help me out. I was thinking, help me out here, Yeah,
say something.
Say something so he knows you're intelligent. But no, she wouldn't say anything. She just glared. I was so happy to get out of that store finally. We got into the car and we ate one of those big old bags of peanut M&Ms. So, I don't know. We all fail sometimes. As a mom, you try your best, but yeah, you're going to fail sometimes.
Well, yeah, there's many times as a mother that you're going to feel like a failure. However, we also are raising these little individuals who have no diplomatic sense about the way they communicate. They're perfectly honest, and they're going to tell us what they think. And sometimes it can result in some precarious situations, for sure.
Well, since I married a man named Nutz, I've really learned to lean into having a sense of humor and not taking things so seriously sometimes.
Diane, what is your most important message about these individuals or about your experiences? What is it that you want the world to take away from your book?
I think that my message is that all of us have something to offer to humanity. I believe that we've all been put here for a reason, that we're children of God. And we've been put here not to judge others, but to help others, to interact and communicate, and not pass somebody up just because they may look or act different. But it seems like more and more these days we need to learn how to communicate with people. To smile, a wave, and hello. Hello can mean such an awful lot to an individual who is unique, as I've talked about. It is better to speak to people than to stare at them or to stare down at your phone. I think we need to communicate and give acceptance to everybody and realize that everyone has a gift.
That's wonderful. Do you believe that over the years, society has become more accepting of these unique individuals, or do we still have things that we need to learn?
I think they are as a whole. As I spoke of earlier, the terms have changed in making people feel more accepted in schools and in the community. But now, to me, the younger generation needs to be careful because they are so into screen time that their opportunity to communicate and to learn about individuals. So it has come a long ways, but now it's kind of a slippery slope here. Are we going backwards? Are we going to keep improving? Or parents need to be careful of that.
So many of these children now are mainstreamed into the public school system. Do you see that as a good thing?
It's a really good thing. I have one section in my book called Need for Inclusion, and so that's what's happening, especially in the schools and in society with all the fundraiser groups that go towards people that need help. And I interviewed a lady yesterday because I am writing another book since the title popped in my head. She's a school teacher, and she has a daughter with Down syndrome, and she said she has really seen improvements in the schools, people that are unique with the typical children that are in school. And, yeah, children are more comfortable around these individuals now than they ever have been. I just don't want to see it get to the point where they're not including them because they have a phone and this other person can't even hold a phone.
Diane, how has your life been changed or improved because of the experience that you've had with the population of the unique?
The parents have taught me so much to relax. And I've also been taught skills. I have nursing skills. I don't have an RN. I'm not an RN, but I do have skills of an RN where I've learned to deal with trachs and tube feeding and how to push that button back in if they pull it out. And the person that quoted something a long time ago was the president of my church, President Hinckley. And my husband got me this plaque because I tend to get anxiety sometimes because I'm dealing with an awful lot. And even though the parents are so relaxed and low-key, it still brings me to have anxiety sometimes with the medical needs of these children. I mean, they could choke or stop breathing when they're with me. And so I need to relax and know that my skills are set and I know what to do if I have an emergency. So this quote is, "It isn't as bad as you sometimes think it is. It all works out. Don't worry. It will all work out. Put your trust in God and move forward with faith and confidence in the future. The Lord will not forsake us. If we put our trust in Him, if we pray to Him, if we live worthy of His blessings, He will hear our prayers." And, I fall back on that quote a lot when I start getting anxiety, thinking, I've got through this kind of problem before. I can get through it again. It's all going to work out.
I guess I never considered the health risks that you encounter every day with these children and how much that would cause anxiety. That's crazy.